Brilliant. Well, look, once again, thanks very much for your time. Just so that those that are watching can understand, we've run some advertising campaigns for roles online recently. Brendan, you've sent us your CV, and we'd be keen to understand the sequence of events that have led you here. So what's occurring for you? Let's start at the beginning. Tell me about how you started out in construction and how it brought you to where you are today.
Well, started out in construction. I started with my old man doing civils, doing all groundwork, shuttering, carpentry, steel fixing, etc. From that, moved out of there, went into ventilation. I time served. I done 3, 4, 5 years doing ventilation. From there, then I moved into M&E. While I was doing the M&E, I was at night college doing my carpentry course. So I've done that, passed all that. I worked my way through McDonald Brown. I was with them for 12 years, worked my way up through there. Then I started managing projects, and then I was running contracts for Thames Water, Costco's, and David Lloyd Fitness, as well as doing new installs, PPMs, maintenance, all the aftercare, everything like that. Then I decided to go into the build side of things.
When was that? How long ago was that you went into the build side?
Through the build side was about 12 years, 12, 13 years ago. Went through there. I went to work for a company, Ballymore.
Yeah.
I went through there. I was like a handover manager where I managed all phases, all NHBC standards from out the ground, all key stage inspections, all the fit out, QA, make sure everyone's hitting their milestones, ensuring everything the quality, and then hand over to client all the AOV systems, life safety, doing all cause and effects and everything else, hand over to client, NHBC. So I went from there to doing that. I was also, just before there, I worked for Grosvenor Estates for a company called Geisha. I was there for 4 years doing PM. I had 8 site managers underneath me, all super high-end, everything bespoke, all around Eaton Square, Belgravia.
What was that, new build?
No, that was all cut and carve and refurbishment. That was all around for the Grosvenor Estate. So it's all sort of Eaton Square, all super high-end. Everything's bespoke there. There's not a straight wall in the place. And that's when I went to Ballymore after that. And then after Ballymore, I got offered a job I went to Taylor Wimpey for a small stint just to get me up to the Christmas period, which we was doing all duplex apartments and everything else to fit out and the externals. So after that was only a small stint of about 6 months or so. And then I had an offer from Boyd's to start in the January 22. But then Nuliving contacted me with a better offer, and they had a lot of work in the Essex area, 15 years work. So that would have seen me out to retirement. So I went with them, but unfortunately, Swan Housing owned Nuliving. They were the building arm of Swan Housing. Now, Swan Housing just been bought out by Sanctuary. Now, they've just put a kibosh on all of their projects. What they're doing, they're finishing the phases that they're on at the moment, and they've shut down all the other phases, and they'll put them out to tender shortly. So they couldn't do it. So then obviously they offered me voluntary redundancy. So I took that, but the contracts manager had already told me, take voluntary redundancy and I'll take it straight back on a day rate. So that was at the end of June. I went straight back on a day rate. So at the end of August, they'd done all their prelims on the job, and they just, Sanctuary won't pay it. They want to run it on a skeleton crew because there's been a bit of a mess up with all the facade and everything else on the job. So they don't really know what they're doing over there, basically. And that's where I am today. So I thought I'd have a month off, have a few holidays, do a few bits around the house, you know, and now the missus is driving me mad. I want to get back to work. It's all right for 2 weeks, but I've had enough of it.
I'll come and work for free. Just get me out of the house.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll do it.
So what? I mean, I've told you briefly about the opportunity here, and it's you know it's a young business. You know, I deal with the owner. He's got a group of companies, a cost management firm, a development firm, main contracting firm, and there's an emerging business that do like eco-friendly retrofit.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of that, like the ground source heat pumps, solar. Done a lot of that across the Grosvenor estate to state.
Yeah.
And I've done a bit for the Met Police and stuff like that, all the solar and the battery power and stuff like that. Done a lot of stuff. They think it's like a new thing, all these heat pumps and ground source heat pumps. I was putting them in 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
I'm just going to shut this window, Brendan, because I've got a motor outside. Oh. So, in terms of, like, you know, you've got a bit of a varied background. There's been more consistency in recent times. You know, you've worked for some, you know, Bouygues is a massive multinational. You know, Grosvenor Estate is very bespoke and specific. You know, you work with your father early doors. I imagine that was a completely different dynamic. Where do you think you fit in best in terms of like describing an anonymous company, like big, small, private, PLC, doing this, doing that? Where do you think you can add most value?
Well, I've worked for smaller companies, and you know, and I've worked for the big tier 1 contractors. You know, and I've been there. It's like Ballymore, they're like a machine.
Yeah.
You know, we're knocking out 80 units. Like if we knocked out 30 units in 1 week, that was a bad week.
Really?
So we was handing over. It was like we were churning them out. You know, we had block managers, like all the finishing managers. We would take them a white box and then move down. It was like a machine on there, and it was 100 mile an hour, which is I like that because it keeps you busy.
Yeah.
I'll get bored if there's something too sort of small. I like to be involved with everybody.
Yeah.
Make sure I know exactly what's going on. Make sure everything's coordinated.
Yeah.
Proper to work. Everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing. Making sure that the M&E contractor, if they've got plant, because I know through the M&E background that anything like that is a long lead time. I want to make sure that I'm looking at it. I'm not looking for it. I want that on site. I want it there ready to go in. As soon as it can go in, it goes up on the roof. We get walk site. We get done. All gets done. Everyone gets out of the way and leaves it, and it's all done and dusted. But
imagine that if you like, I've worked. You know, I've been on my own for 11 years. I've worked for the industry-leading construction search company. I then went in-house with one of my clients who were like a quantity surveying firm. You know, I look at some of my clients that I recruit for privately owned businesses, corporate PLCs, and it's like east is east and west is west. You know, if you work for one of these big corporates, you'll have compartmentalized departments. That's not my pay grade. That's not my job description. Give that to the bid team. Give that to the cost team. Whereas if you work for a smaller firm, you might have the same job title, but you've got to get involved.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, even with Ballymore, see that's one of the things which I hate. People who go, oh, no, that's not my job. See, that's the thing with me with Ballymore. I used to learn to keep my mouth shut because I used to report in straight into the director. And I'd say, right, this is going to affect my handover. He's sitting on his arse behind his desk all day. He'd do that. He'd go, oh, could you sort it? Because he ain't going to get it done. Yeah. So I'd be going around clocking stuff. And in the end, I'd be looking after all these people's jobs, like, you know. So I'd wear a lot of hats. Yeah. So I like to get involved in everything. And like with a new company, if they're up and coming, I will definitely get on board with that because I like to do that. I'm not a job hopper, and I like to get involved. You know what I mean? So I like to do all aspects of it. I'll get involved. If I have a look and there's utilities or there's meters to go in or there's electrical supplies to go in, and I'm looking, I'm going, right, well, I don't do a 2-week look ahead. I'll be looking at like a 2-month look ahead. I don't like surprises. Don't like to be bit on the arse. You know what I mean? So I the arse quite a lot over the years,
Yeah.
but you learn by your mistakes. So
okay, so let's look at that specifically. Yeah, you've referenced you wear many hats. You're willing to, step over the invisible line between this delivery and that. You can get involved.
I talk to everyone.
Right. So what I want to do, right, rather than say, oh yeah, I'm good at this, I'm good at that, I want you to think of a specific time in your career, and we're going to reference it, where something was underperforming, something was behind schedule or running over budget. You've got involved, you've influenced methodology or process, and you've managed to turn it around. Can you think of a good example of that in recent times? Right, where are we in your career? Where are you working at this point?
We're at Ballymore.
Right.
Ballymore.
What was the
handover manager. Now, looking at because obviously you can't hand over a building when you're looking at life safety systems. You can't hand over a building without the life safety systems. And in the car park, you'd have smoke extracts and carbon monoxide detection within the car park. So I had a look, and I'm looking about, and I'm thinking to myself, right, where's the, because we're due to hand over in six to 7 weeks. Now I'm looking for the smoke extracts, and I'm looking, and I think, like, where is it? Come across it, and there's a big slab above a commercial with a big bit missing.
Right.
So I'm looking, thinking to myself, right, okay, go and have a look, get all the drawings up, have a look, want to see the design and where it's going. And then they had plasterboard and purlins across. And I looked and just went, well, the size of the fans, had a look, went to the designers. I said, this ain't going to happen. So I went and had a look, measured all the fans and everything else and the attenuators. Worked out it was about 16.5 ton with the fans and everything else. I had a look, I went, purlins and plasterboard ain't going to hold that. Mm. So basically what they've missed a bit of the slab above the commercial. So I've gone to the designer, got them out, told them to go and put their boots on, took them out on site. When they've had a look at it, they're looking, going, right, I go, you can't hand the building over. I go, you ain't going to get your £30 million for these apartments, or 80 million, whatever it was. Yeah. So I've gone back to them. Then they've had to redesign, the designers, structural engineers have had to design a steel frame now, instead of extending the slab, but design a steel frame in the commercial areas.
When they told you that they had to do that, where's your head at? Is it like we ain't got enough time, or what's going through your mind?
Well, I was looking at them. I'm just saying, what they was looking, saying, I ain't been designed yet. I was going, well, I ain't been designed. And I spoke to the director. I wasn't allowed to speak to the director until he's had his breakfast because he spit it all over the place. Because I always used to be the bearer of bad news for him, Yeah. He'd send me out here, go and have a look. They told me it's going to be ready Friday. I'll go, yeah, about 3 weeks Friday.
Yeah.
But he'd just go mental, Yeah. But it's, so they've done that. They've done it. They've got the steel frame done. I worked with the metal fabricators and the contractors. We got that done, got it all sorted, done it. Then we got the new, basically the new base in place. And everything was sold, all the kit was on site, and it got it done. And we managed to hand it. It was a week late, but we managed to turn around and got it done.
Yeah.
But it was done.
I'm imagining you was carried out off site shoulder high, was you?
No, you're having a laugh. They don't give they don't care. They just go, oh yeah, lovely, well done. All they was worried about for me is getting that signature from the NHBC and building control. So I used to deal with them all the time. Yeah. So basically, I remember before I was in Cape Verde, and then because they didn't have all their paperwork, and I had a good relationship with the building control, they're phoning me up in Cape Verde. So I know he won't let us do it. He keeps telling us to do one and all that. So I phoned them. I said, I'm back this day. Guarantee you'll have all your paperwork in by that day. He went, okay, I'll sign it off. Sign a certificate. I've got an extra 2 weeks off for that, by the way.
So, just as we kind of like reach the logical conclusion, what are the headlines? What's the biggest project you've either as a PM or a senior site manager? What's the biggest scope that you've delivered in the past?
Well, it would be really Ballymore was a sort of 150 million build.
Yeah.
It was 3,200 homes, commercial, mixed use, plus a jetty onto the Thames. That was 3,200 homes. I only left them because they wanted to send me to Brentford. And Brentford for me from Basildon, it's like a 2-hour trip each way.
Yeah.
So I'm not getting in at sort of 7, 8 o'clock at night. So
yeah. Well,
like
this firm, whilst you're obviously going to be site based, and dependent upon the seniority, there might be some remote working. Their base is, if you come round, I'm Hertfordshire, so if you come round the M25, go over the bridge, it's then the next turning off. So it's like Canterbury, that sort of way.
Oh right, yeah, Cheshire and all that, and Broxbourne, and all that sort of where you are.
Yeah. So if you go around, like, so I could drive to their office in about an hour door to door. It's not like you're going to have to get there every day, but there might be monthly reporting meetings.
Canterbury's over the river. I'll go over towards Blue Water way to go to Canterbury.
That's it. So it's not a million miles away. It's not going to necessitate a daily routine over there. But there will be times when you have to go over and be with the boys.
That's no problem for me.
Cool.
But obviously, I don't really want to be going to Slough on site every day.
No, this needs to work for the right reasons. And if that is the scope, then I wouldn't encourage it. But what they're saying is we've got a lot of work coming up. We've got a lot of stuff that's already happening, and it's just a case of it getting out of feasibility and it's like we can entertain people pretty much throughout London if they're happy to commute for an hour and they're used to working in London. We've got options for them.
I'm happy to go to London. I'm like, because obviously I'm getting at the stage now. I've been going to London for 30 years. So it's not an issue to me. If it goes to short, I can drive into town, do that. Worst ways, I'll get another bike and I'll just like shooting a London motorbike. You know what I mean? It's not a problem.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to focus on salary at this stage, purely because I haven't got full scope of a vacancy. It might be that there's a site manager role, there's a PM role, there's a hybrid role. So then it's like, this is how I look at it. What do you want me to do? What's the scope of the works? What's the work-life balance? With visibility of that, I can offer you my expectations. One shape fits all is never going to work.
If I'm running a project, I like to be on site. I like to be there, seeing what's going on. Yeah. And if I need to do 2 jobs, it doesn't bother me. As long as the money's right, I'll do that. I'll bounce between the 2 if I have to. As long as I've got site managers on them. It's like I used to do with Grosvenor Estates. I would do that. And it's like Ballymore. I used to chase the PMs, the site managers, the block managers, the finishing managers. I'd be after them all. I used to report direct to the director on that job.
Yeah.
So I was on everybody's case. So I'm sort of like 100 mile an hour. When it comes to that, I like to be busy. I like to be all over it. But then, like you say, the life-work balance, I don't want to be leaving work at 5 o'clock and getting home at 8 o'clock.
No, and I run my own. This is Danny Payton Limited, basically, and if I don't succeed, I don't draw any dough. So I get to be selective with who I work with, and the way that I make that that decision is things like that. What would I want to work for this company? Would I want to work with this fella? Does this guy inspire me? Are they doing things correctly? Do they recognise that people are fundamentally their biggest asset, and what can they do, to make this more appealing? Those that do go the extra mile, brilliant. Those that don't,
see you later,
yeah, and typically the big PLC corporates, they're not extensive on my portfolio because
all you are with them is a number. They don't give a number. All you're doing is getting a wage. Mind you, I always used to get my bonus because I used to have to make sure my signature was on the sign off. Yeah. But other people, and I used to see people, some of them used to like work their nuts off for them. And then they'd walk in there, they won't give them their bonus. So I'd just go out of order like that. It is, you know, didn't give a monkey's about them. But like with a sort of, if you like, a smaller company who's up and coming, excuse me, they recognise what you're doing, and if you're rewarded for what you're doing,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, you're the one getting it across the line, you're earning their money.
Yeah.
Well,
look,
you know,
look, I think we've got everything we need. I think 20 minutes, anything longer, people start to switch off. In terms of a forward action plan, I want to get this over to Ryan
okay.
and gauge his thoughts.